Hi all, welcome back to my lecture series. This is Muthuminal, Assistant Professor from the Department of Agriculture Engineering at SNS College of Technology. Today we'll see about user interface design under the unit variable rate technology under the subject automation techniques in agriculture engineering for the students of second year 4th semester. Before going into the session, let's have a small recap what and all we have seen at the previous class. We have seen about variable rate technology and how does it work and how does it involve in increasing the farm profitability. Also, we have seen what is user interface design and why is it important. Today we'll see how well this user interface design could be developed. Okay, so the steps involved in user interface design. Why are we going into so much of trouble in developing these kinds of design? Can anyone relate with it? The thing is, initially we had empathized with the previous scenarios. We have to know at what case these kinds of interface design begins with and what case these users utilize this software and how well this user interface will be created with a specific screen layout, and also what could be the prototype or the tools could be utilized by the user. So these are some steps which we have to know before developing a user interface design. This is how well we have to empathize ourselves over designing these kinds of user interface design. This is our first stage, right? As we always follow up DT, we always depend upon the 5 stages. The first stage would be our empathy part. So that empathy part comes under these steps, 4 steps, what we have to do. Initially, before designing these kinds of user interface, I have to identify the user, and the user has what will be their task and what will be their requirement at the environment, because all the users who's going to utilize the software will always be at the field for enhancing the crop production. So once the user task have been identified, I have to also analyze the user scenarios that has to be created and analyzed for finally defining a set of interface objects and actions. These form the basis for the creation of a screen layout. As I have said, if I know a paint, I have to always be well versed in paint of older version. Then it is possible for me to work with the newer version of paint. There is not going to be any different in screen layout, right? So the screen layout is usually same with that of the layout icons. So that if I'm going to give an icon within to mark, that means it is closed. It is a universal icon, right? I can't go and change over there that this icon is not going for not going to exit the software, but it is going to add a layout or it is going to create a new tab. It is not possible. So that means that certain universal icons has to be same throughout all the softwares. So this is how the screen layout has to be created, and the screen layout has to be created such that the graphical design and the placement of icons should have a very good specification. Even though a well-versed person is going to use, I have to give that if I'm going to select that icon, I'll have a description text that what happens if I select that icon. So this is how I have to do it. Fine. And also I have to use a prototype and ultimately implement the design model, and then the evaluation has to be done for a quality. These are the main things which I have to know initially before designing a user interface. So here I have empathized that what and all it is necessary for me to develop a user interface. Yes. So if that's the case, here I can identify the problem, and that problem could be defined into 3 solutions. That 3 solutions have been identified and defined as golden rules. Okay, here the first step which I have defined is I have to place the user in control. I have to reduce the user's memory load. That means if I'm going to select an icon, what happens? it will give me a description text that this icon will do such, and if that's the case, I can go directly and click on so that the manual work will be reduced. If it is not possible, I have to remember all the commands, I have to type everything, I have to exit. So please exit from the software. Then what happens? I have to have everything in my memory. That is not possible. It will be very tedious job, so that no user is going to come back for your user interface. So I have to make it a very consistent interface. These are going to be the golden rules to avoid these kinds of problems which I have empathized with the previous solution. Okay. So here, the solution which I can do, or the idea which I can use so that the user can come back and utilize my user interface. So this is the main idea which I can say over here. What is it? Place the user in control. Initially, I can define the interaction modes in a way that does not force a user into unnecessary or undesired action. And then I can also provide a space for flexible interaction. I can allow the user interaction to be interruptible and undoable. The streamlined interaction will be under a prescribed skill level advance and make the interaction to be a customized one, because each and every user will have a different kind of options in his mind. I can't go on and keep that undesired action that has to happen will be happen for every kind of user. So I have to make sure that that doesn't happen here. So I have to allow an uninterruptible interaction among the users. Then I have to hide the technical internals from the casual user, then design for direct interaction with the objects that appear on the screen. So this is how I can give a solution to the problem which has arisen while designing a user interface at the previous two stages as an idea, that is, place the user in control, and this will always make me to reduce the user's memory load. If the objects or the icons which I have given is very good, then it will also demand me to provide a short-term memory, which will make me to establish a meaningful defaults and define the shortcuts that are intuitive. This will make the visual layout a very good interface, real world metaphor, and I can disclose these kinds of information in a progressive fashion. This is only happens when I have given you a proper solution. If that doesn't happen, it will be a very tedious job for me to interact with this software. So if that's the case, no one is going to come back. So I will make this a very consistent one. How do I make this a very consistent one? I have to allow the user to put the current task into a meaningful context, and also have to maintain the consistency across a family of applications. Here I have said you, if I am well aware of utilizing a paint, then I can edit or do anything in Adobe, right? So a family of application in the sense, the application whichever works under same category. Drawing, SketchUp, Paint, everything has a main prefaces. The designed drawing will be given as an output. And how well it can give me? It comes under the same family. So I have to maintain that consistency. So that is why I have to make the interface consistent. Okay. So as of today, I have considered three stages under our design thinking. The first stage is where I have to empathize with the user according to their user scenario case. And then the second stage is I have defined the problem and how to eradicate that problem with the help of those three golden rules. Then how I can incorporate these three golden rules and make my interface consistent with the idea which I have come to it by making the user a user control interface one. Okay, so this is what I have prepared for today's class. See you at the next class, where we have a detailed description about how we are going to design a user interface and how well these kinds of design thinking will help us to give us application oriented solutions. Okay, see you at the next class. Thank you.